Am I the a-hole for saying that I am not available as a babysitter for my grandson and that my daughter will have to pay daycare expenses? My daughter, 26F, was abandoned by her husband when my grandson was 3 months old. Since she couldn't support herself, I let her move into my house. I, 56F, have a hectic routine where I do my things, work, gym, etc., until 5 p.m. and from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I stay with my grandson until my daughter arrives. Currently, to help my daughter, I pay the expenses at home and she pays for daycare and the baby's things, diapers, formula, etc. And there's still plenty left for her to save up to eventually move. I decided that I would take a month off next month to rest, without necessarily traveling. When my daughter found out about the vacation, she talked about the possibility of saving money on daycare to save up to move since I could stay with my grandson. I immediately said no, as it is my rest and taking care of a child for 6H, 5D plus 2H at night is not in my plans, but that I could help in the morning so she can rest. But the afternoon was out of the question. My grandson stays in daycare on afternoon. She started crying, saying that she was trying to gain independence and eventually move out. But that being a single mother was so hard and I wasn't making it any easier. Basically she begged me to at least stay another 3 hours, but I stuck to what I said. I really want to rest and a 14-month-old baby who is walking and curious. I know I won't get that rest, but I can't help but feel guilty about my daughter's situation. I love my grandson, but it is also my rest. Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. Saying that I am not available as a babysitter for my grandson and that my daughter will have to pay daycare expenses. 2. She was trying to gain independence and eventually move out. But that being a single mother was so hard and I wasn't making it any easier. What do you think? Comment down and subscribe. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my biological parents' face when they told me leaving us was the hardest decision they have made? Our family has an interesting story. My bio mother's side and bio father's side have 2 marriages between the families. One of them is our bio parents and one of them is between my bio mom's brother, 55, and my bio dad's sister, 54. My bio mom Linda and bio dad Chris actually have met in my uncle's and aunt's engagement dinner when both of them were 16. Linda and Chris are still complete wrecks. My bio dad was the troubled one of the family whom would have problems with school or the work, and my bio mom has addiction issues since she is 14. When they have met and started to have a relationship, both sides of the family tried to break them up. They even sent them to different countries, but they stole 50,000 United States dollars from their families. Managed to come together and ran away when they were 19. They got married in a third world country and they had me, 25M, and my twin brother when they were 21 years old. They thought we were dead weights, so they left us in the hospital and went into another country. Luckily, they have checked into the hospital with their passports, so the hospital have reached into the embassy. Then they found my grandparents and they brought us back home, and we have been raised by our uncle and aunt since. We call them mom and dad. My parents were charged with child abandonment, but after 10 years of being Mia, the charges were dropped and our families also didn't try to look for them. 2 years ago, they showed up at my dad's parents' house in a completely renovated look. Turns out they have finished their education, had stable jobs in the country, started to get mental health treatments, and they were sober for 9 years and they have basically put themselves together. At first 6 months, they have only seen their parents in public places. Then they were accepted into the houses. A year later, they have met with us when we were 24. Me and my twin brother started to have a relationship with them and we are somewhat cordial right now. Last week, our abandonment topic was opened and Linda told it was the hardest choice they have made. I started to laugh uncontrollably after that, and when they asked, told them they had multiple choices to come back and they didn't, and our families were right not to trust them and they would always have the eyes on them and they should accept this at this stage. My mom started to cry and they left shortly. All of the family except my brother think I am being too cruel and I should apologize, but I think they had to hear the unfiltered truth. Am I the a-hole? What do you think? Comment down and subscribe. Am I the a-hole for turning down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle? I, 27F, have chosen to walk down the aisle alone on my wedding day. The decision was made for 2 reasons. My dad died when I was 7 and he would be my number 1 choice if he were alive, but he's not, and 2. My mom has made it perfectly clear that she would find it disrespectful to my stepdad if she walked me down the aisle and so would not do it. Given that both my parents are out and I don't want to ask my paternal grandparents to do too much, my grandma and I are already sharing a special dance. Walking alone is what I feel the most comfortable doing. I could ask my stepdad, and even when I contemplated my decision, I knew he would want to do it. But it would make me sad to have him walk me instead of my dad, if I'm honest. I think my stepdad is a good man and he has tried his very best to be a dad for me. But I didn't want a dad when I lost mine. I wanted my dad. Nobody else was ever going to be able to fill that role in my heart. I asked my mom and stepdad if they would like to do a joint toast or two separate ones, and whether they would like to walk down the aisle, dance to specific songs. While discussing this, my stepdad asked who I would be walking with, and I told him I was walking alone. He offered to do it, and I said it was a lovely offer, but I would walk alone. He pressed me on why, and I said it felt like the best option. He said it would mean the world to him if he could do it. If just once he could feel like he's a real dad and not just second place to my dad. I told him I understood, but it was not an option on the table. He said he was already being shamed by having to watch me dance with my grandma when it should be a father-daughter dance. But to have everyone watch me walk alone when they know I have a stepdad is going to send a very big message. I know people will ask about details on our relationship, etc. I met my stepdad when I was 9 and he married my mom when I was 10. He offered to adopt me and give me his last name, and I turned him down 5 times in the 8 years I lived with them. He was married before my mom and he lost his wife and unborn baby in an accident. He was also made sterile by the same accident. He always longed to be a dad. We got along well, but our relationship was always more to him than it was to me. Where he sees a daughter and wants a daughter. I see a good man and someone who is a great spouse to my mom and is good to me, but does not fill the father role he wants to emotionally for me. Physically, he did. But emotionally I never felt like he was my dad, and everyone in our lives is aware that I feel as though I have one dad and my stepdad is my stepdad. My mom and stepdad are not paying or contributing to the wedding in any way. My fiancé and I both have savings and we're putting those into the wedding. Though our wedding will be smallish since we want to prioritize other things. My mom and stepdad say I am rude and heartless for turning down the offer. Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I turned down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle at my wedding, and I might be an asshole for this for many reasons. Number 1 is he wants to do this badly and he's a good man, so there's nothing wrong with him that would be a reason to say no. The other thing is I know this is just another rejection in his eyes, and while it is a rejection of him as being my dad, I know that will hurt him greatly. The other reason is he might be embarrassed to have everyone watch me walk alone while knowing he has been in my life for over half of it now. What do you think? Comment down and subscribe. Am I the a-hole for wanting to take revenge on my neighbors? Trigger warning: animal abuse. This is a throwaway account. Hi. My mom and I are wanting to know if we would be the AITA for wanting to take revenge on our neighbors who have been harassing our dogs in our backyard. For reference, we have 2 dogs, a boy named Cody and a girl named Hallie. Some backstory. They have hated our dogs from the moment we have moved in because our dogs are active and will bark and run up and down the fence. They had a dog that would do the same. It seemed like the dogs were playing through the fence. We thought it was harmless. We understand it can get annoying and try to get them in when it gets too much. That being said, they weren't barking all the time just when they were outside with the other dog. They do not do that to our other side neighbors. We noticed how Hallie would not go near the fence when our male neighbor would be on their deck and would be scared and growl and bark. She was fine with men until we moved here. She is terrified of men now. We have men in our family but not living in our house currently. Before we got cameras, we have noticed random things in our yard such as golf balls, baseballs, and footballs. We do not own any of those. Present time, we got a tip from someone who previously was friends with them. Their friend had to get a restraining order on them because they vandalized his house and pooped in his front yard. They have allegedly stolen many things from him, varying from jewelry to weapons. He was the one who told us to get cameras ASAP because he wouldn't be surprised if they threw food over with glass in it for our dogs to eat. As a dog owner who loves our animals immensely, that's scary to hear. We have recently just set up cameras all around our house and on the property line of the neighbors who have been harassing us. We have not had our cameras for a month yet. On Tuesday 5 halves we caught them trying to lure one of our dogs, Hallie, out of the yard by calling them over to the gate, and they had a dog catcher type of pole. We saw it on our cameras and we were able to immediately get her in safely. Although we are not sure what they were going to do, it was very alarming to see on video. But with the previous issues we have had, it wasn't a good feeling in our guts. Hallie was the first to get sick a couple of days ago and was able to come through. But she was not eating and looked sick. She is all good and seems to be healthy now. We still want to get her to check out. Now moving on to Cody. He is an Australian Shepherd and he had diabetes, which was very under control. On the same day 5/2, he stopped eating his food at dinner time. That is concerning to us because he's very food motivated and will never not eat if offered. Yesterday 5:30 in the morning his back legs couldn't hold his weight and at 7 a.m. he ate very little breakfast and my mom gave him his meds like normal and just added his gabapentin like the vet said to do. Nothing was getting better and he ended up not being able to walk at all. He threw up all his breakfast at 4 p.m. undigested. We feed our dogs farmer's dog mixed with a tiny bit of dry food. He got worse from then on and we had to carry him around. We carried him outside and tried to feed him but he was uninterested. Later that evening we took him to the emergency vet and he was in critical condition. They told us it had nothing to do with his diabetes or any medical conditions. It was random and suspected poisoning. He was so critical and suffering with a 1% chance of survival with extensive medical intervention that we had to make the choice to let him go. With this being said, we cannot prove our neighbors did this, but there is no other conclusion to be made. 2 days ago, he was running up and down our yard and now he is dead. So, my question is, would we be the a-hole for wanting to covertly take revenge on our neighbors? Any covert ideas are welcome. We have already filed a police report and so we have a paper trail. We are considering getting a restraining order against them. What do you think? Comment down and subscribe. Am I the a-hole for refusing to bleach my hair for a wedding? So, I have a weird problem and after I told my boyfriend he told me this sub would be the perfect place to get help on. So, I, 25F, am meant to be in the bridal party of my friend Zoe's, 26F, wedding in December 2024. A couple days ago, she met with me and the rest of the bridal party to discuss what the plan was for hair, makeup, dresses, etc. At first it seemed reasonable. She's going for a winter wonderland type of theme. So blue dresses, all in different shades, lined up as a gradient, with silvery accents, snowflake jewelry and soft makeup, even blue contacts for those of us without blue eyes. Last one's a bit weird, but it's no big deal to me. I've worn color contacts for Halloween. The bit that ended up being an issue for me is that Zoe requested we all get our hair dyed. A couple members of the bridal group are natural blondes, with dyed ends, and so is Zoe, but she wants to go platinum for the wedding, but the rest of us are two brunettes. A strawberry blonde, she wasn't blonde enough, and a redhead. I'm one of the brunettes and I'm the only one in the group who has never dyed or bleached their hair. I've considered it, but I can never stay settled on what I want to do, and I'd hate to spend money on something that I end up hating. On top of that, my mom spent from ages 5 to 13 flat ironing my hair almost every single day. It really damaged my hair. I'm almost certain it's resulted in my hair being thinner than it used to be. I know bleaching can also damage your hair, and I don't feel comfortable taking that risk yet. I told Zoe I wouldn't be able to dye my hair. She insisted it would be fine, as my hair seemed quite healthy and she would be paying for the bleaching treatments for all of us. I again said no, thanks so much, but I can't. I asked if I could just wear a wig and she said no. That wigs are cheap and unnatural, and she wants us to have our real hair bleached instead of some cheap imitation for the day. After more back and forth, she told me I should go home and think about the fact that I'm ruining her vision and that I'd be ruining the photos and wedding video that she and her fiancé, 30M, will be putting together for his grandparents, 84M and 82F, to view. Since they won't be able to fly in from Argentina, I apologized, paid for my meal, and left. I really don't want to dye my hair, but I also don't want to ruin Zoe's picture-perfect day. I don't think I'm being difficult or wrong here, but am I? Edit. For a little clarification on how things stand and what's expected, I'm a 6 to 7 on the hair color scale. The other brunette is a 5. Zoe wants the 6 of us to be at 9 to 10. She only wants herself to be platinum. She currently sits at a 10 on the scale. Also, I do not have dark eyes. My eyes are green. 2 of the other girls do have light brown eyes though. What do you think? Comment down and subscribe.